Hello, welcome back to Daybreak. It's still the Federal Civil Service going digital, going paperless by December 31st, 2025. That has been the conversation. The head of service of the federal agency saying this is the new direction according to the policy plan. And that's really the conversation we're looking at. How prepared are they? It's just 6 months to the deadline, or 5 months to the deadline, whatever parameter you're using to measure. If we are going to be migrating to paperless, how are we going to do that? What are the parameters? What are the structures on ground? What will the government begin to benefit? What are the challenges they may face in ensuring we have a seamless transition? Before we unveil our guests to the conversation, let's watch this report and see how it was officially announced.
Civil Service Week for year 2025, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Didi Esther Walson-Jack, affirmed that it aligns with the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan between 2021 and 2025, highlighting relevance.
At the beginning of this year, we realized that the strategy plan, the FC25, ends this year, precisely December 31st of this year. And we said to ourselves, we must accelerate the implementation of the pillars of reform of that plan. And one of the key pillars of that plan is digitalization. And so we're saying to all the MDs, you have to go paperless. And we're not saying what we are not doing or experiencing, because I'm happy to let you know that even before I came on board, the office of the head of the civil service of the Federation has been paperless.
While reiterating the theme for the event, she noted expectations and benefits.
I believe from this conference, we are going to reap a lot of benefits, not only for Nigeria as a country, but for our federal civil service, our state civil services, and indeed for the private sector as well as the public sector. One thing this conference also is expected to do is to demystify the federal civil service. The private sector, we find out, does not know very much about the workings of the public service. And so for us, this is a very good handshake.
The head of the Civil Service of the Federation further urged for full participation, saying digital transformation is for the good of.
All right, that's the voice of Mrs. Didi Esther Walson-Jack. She is the head of Civil Service of the Federation. At that Civil Service Week, she heralded and made the news public to say the Federal Civil Service is going paperless from December 31st, 2025. And now let's introduce our guest joining us this morning to give us insights about that conversation. He's no other person than Mark Agbodosi. Mark, good morning this morning.
Good morning, Uncommon Emmanuel. Good morning, Edo State. Good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you, Mark. Let's look at the digitization of the Federal Civil Service. What does it entail for Nigeria?
For me, right?
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Digitalization is all about being paperless, as you have said in your introduction. And it means a lot because when civil service is digitalized, a lot of paperwork will be absent from affairs. It means decision can be taken quickly and efficiently. Now, you want to proceed on a leave. You can just log into the portal and apply for your leave. It will also reduce multiple job functions. Now, look at it this way. The civil service have a way of directing people for trainings. We've seen evidently when even Edo State, when Edo State goes paperless, how a lot of funds were saved because people just go out there and say, I want to go for a training, and they will vote a certain amount of money for them to go. At the end of the day, they will go for certain training multiple times. So digitalization creates a nail tray. It creates an audit tray for every activity of a staff and the agency. So it makes it easier for you to see what has been done comparative to what they are saying they want to do. So it also is a room for the civil service to close the knowledge gap when it comes to their staff being digital friendly in terms of being computer literate and the rest. So it's an opportunity for the civil service to train their staff to understand the use of computer and digital technology. So it will create that opportunity for training also for staff, and also it will in tune connect Nigeria civil servants to the global audience, to the global community. Why am I saying that? If you understand digital policies, you understand digital audit trail, movement of files and documents from one place to another, you can also compute good mail and speak good English, because everything is now being seen by everybody. So you cannot send a mail. Before, you can just go, Oga, I beg, let me sign this document. Is that not so? But now you must construct it very well. So it means it will enhance the verbal and also the written skills of the civil service. So it's a good thing, and I want to encourage them to do so. But again, they should 6 months.
Because that was supposed to be the follow-up question.
Yes.
Now, we don't know if from her remark, she didn't tell us if they were, if they've been under works, if they've been works going on at the background, if they've been training and retraining the federal civil servant to ensure that they are adequately prepared for this transition. You can't just go for a transition for 6 months. Or will this transition be post implementation? When it has been fully implemented, that's when you start training the people. You know how it will pose a whole lot of challenges. Mark, let's look at it. Do you think 6 months is enough? Now, this is a federal parasite. This is a federal body covering the entire federal civil service. Now, how are they prepared? Do you think 6 months is enough for us to occasion a smooth transition, or you think it's something that should be reconsidered?
I think we need to understand something. The HOS Federal, she has said even our office, before she assumed our office, has been paperless. So it means a structure is there. Okay? The problem we have is that because of our multi way of doing things, everybody wants to be relevant, everybody wants to bring in somebody new. If a structure is there, it means there is a blueprint, because that blueprint was what enabled our office to be paperless. And I know for a fact that many MDAs in Nigeria are actually operating paperless. You can Google that, you can fact check me. Many MDAs are operating paperless. So the blueprint is there. Just get, hey, how did you do yours? Who did yours for you? Operation in government parastatal are almost the same thing, both federal and state. So why would I be looking for multiple contractors to digitalize different agencies? Why not get a one way? This is how the operation should be. Then implement it across all agencies. Do you understand? So it has been existing. They can visit Edo State who did something like that. Edo State did something like that, and they even have a data center to enable digitalization. And the pilot and even the working of Edo State was absolutely wonderful.
Seamless.
When it was being operated. I don't know if it's fully operational now, but I know it was wonderful and it was working very well. So it means people have done it. So don't start looking for somebody else to implement this thing. Meet those who have done it. In knowledge, meet those who have done it. It's reduced the time frame for you to do it. So I don't think 6 months is a big deal. But because of Nigeria factor, if all honesty we brought to play, 6 months is okay for them to transit. It's a transition. It's not like they are starting something new. They say they are transiting. Okay, so something is existing. So they should be able to follow up in 6 months. But hey, Nigeria factor, that is what I'm considering.
All right.
That's 6 months.
All right, you said something that it will reduce multiple functions.
Yes.
And one of the things we have in this nation today is that people are working in the civil service, either the federal or the state, because they need job. I don't know if you get that. Now, when this election takes place now, do you think it will not lead to the loss of jobs of citizens who are working in the civil service? Because you said to reduce functions, and those functions are carried out by people.
You are right when you are saying I don't think there's reduction of jobs. When I said earlier, I said people have done it. Yeah. I quoted Edo State.
Yeah.
And I know Lagos State also. They are also digitalized to a large extent. Have anybody lost his job when Edo State did theirs?
All right.
No. So when I say multiple function, it means when you work on paper, a lot of people can say, I am the head of this department. I'm also the head of the other department. Because I know you, I can work to you. I'll bring a paper that is supposed to be for another department. And you will sign it for me, sign off, and everybody move on.
Yeah.
But when it is digitalized, that person who is supposed to sign will be the main person to sign. We've seen situations whereby someone who is supposed to be an HOP doesn't even have control over his own department, doesn't even have control over his department votes, over his department impress. Somebody is dictating the disbursement of those funds for the person. When it is digitalized, every budgetary allocation for each department will be channeled to the department through the digital mean. Are you getting me now?
Yeah.
From there, you can vote and you can submit your budget as a department. You don't need somebody out there to start boboring you or pushing you to do that.
Yeah.
You submit your budget as a department, it is there. The next sign on, the higher level will approve the budget. Then the next higher level will review and assent on it. So it means every activity is monitored. So when there is a misappropriation of funds,
Yeah.
You know who to hold.
All right. Okay. Let me just chip in this question. Nigeria, we always. I think one time Adam Shumola he came and was looking for ghost workers, ghost in the educational sector. Now, do you think how can these help to reduce corruption and ghost workers in the system? How do you think it will help curb it out?
very wonderful question, because most times back to the multiple functions.
Yeah.
Those multiple functions don't even have individuals doing it. Okay. Now, when you are digital, it means there's a footprint of everybody in the system.
Yeah.
Everybody has a footprint in the system. So the job where one man is collecting salary for 10 persons, the government have been paying that salary. So you now see the real people who are there. It will create an opportunity for government to identify gap in different offices. A office that's supposed to have a ministry that's supposed to have, let's say, 100 staff, have just 10 staff. One admin person is just there
collecting salary of 90 persons,
sending salary schedule for 100 staff. You can't have that in a digital footprint environment, because every salary schedule is tied to your NIN, it's tied to your BVN, it's tied to your bank. So you can actually, it even make the internal auditors in the agency to work easily, because I may not even need to come and visit and come on Emmanuel to check what is happening in his office. I will just look at the tray of activity in his office. I can invite the person to come see me via mail, just a click of a button. This man attended this training last year. Is equally at requesting for training this year, the same training this year, because then in the civil service, training is another means of those people to make money. So you can now see that on this person dashboard, as the supervisor, now on this dashboard you can see all the activity this person has engaged on. So from there you can know that, why are you requesting for training? You have had this training before. So you cannot request for training because you want to make money from training. So you can eliminate that. So it makes everybody to sit up and do what is supposed to be done.
So that means you mean that now this system will help bring back up, like for example, now you say if I've done training like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, will this system capture the training I've done 5 years ago?
It is supposed to
capture.
It is supposed to capture every activity of every staff, every
No, I
member
think,
in the
Mark, I
industry.
think what he's trying to say is that once it's fully operational
Yeah.
at a larger scale, probably into 2026, do you think the service will go back to, say, 5 years
Yeah,
prior to the implementation and update each staff dashboard to bring in previous activities from hard copies to soft copies, and from there begin to build upon?
Yes, during transition, there's a regulation I work with them. During transition, what you do first is first get the portfolio of all your staff. You upload this portfolio to the server.
Database, yeah.
That's the database. You upload those things to the database. Every important information, biodata and certifications and trainings will be uploaded. So anybody that his data was not uploaded, it means that probably that department does not have access to those information. So perhaps that person may not have even attended that training that he claimed to have attended. If you attend the training, you have certificate, you have registration. It will be uploaded. So what they are supposed to do during transition is you scan and upload every relevant information to the database. So when time comes for you to check, because you upload, you back it up with a written statement. Now, Uncommon Emmanuel, BSc Mass Communication, Federal University of Technology, Owerri. So as I open your page, I see qualification, I click BSc, Masters, PhD. Wow, this man has all this. Okay, certification, I click. Member of the communication, whatever, your own.
NUG as
I see everything there. Now, training, I click. I see the training you have had according to your level. I will see the training. I will know that, okay, you're supposed to take the next higher level training. That is how it's supposed to be.
All things being equal.
Yes. So unless they want to rush you to meet up deadline. I always say something. You may rush to meet up deadline. As an analyst, you may rush to meet up deadline. But at the end of the day, when the basic information is not imputed, at the end of the day, you fall back to start. You know, when you start a building, it's difficult. You have to evacuate all the dirt first before you start building again. So it's better from the foundation they do the right thing. So that's a call that should be made to them.
Now, but now you're coming back to where we started from, foundational issues, and the issue of doing things right. You know, we are from a climb where we have so many intellectuals and innovators. But our challenge as a people, as a nation, as Nigeria, is there are people that are always grafted to make these systems fail. It's quite unfortunate. Then, of course, we have challenges that might be challenging to this digitalization. We have had it. Digitalization, the whole world is going AI. Everybody knows. First of all, from the time frame. Now, when they give, we call it lifeline, not deadline. They give a lifeline to December. Number one, how feasible is that? Now, because, you know, literally, we know as a nation, as a people, it cannot be feasible. They are going to be coming with schemes and extension and all of that. These are going to be hiccups in the system. Because now, let's take an example, for instance. We have had this kind of, no doubt, grafting, accuracy. You know, it's going to save a lot of cost and all of this embarrassment of fraud, people not working and all that. We know all the laudable advantages we can get from it. But my fear, sir, apart from the time frame that I also want you to look at, if between now and December will be sufficient to implement those initiations, if it will not lead to falling back again and destroying the building and rebuilding and costing us more money. Then number two, you know, there was a time they said they want to about e-passports and all of those stuff. We have all of these pockets of innovations here and there, or treasures. People hack into the system. When they came with the e-passport, they say it's going to be able to check Nigerian with multiple passport system, footballers changing ages. You know, Nigerians are very difficult.
Why are you particularly footballers?
No, but they cited that example. No,
Footballers.
no, we had those challenges because we had a lot of our boys who were into such things. You know, it's quite clear an African man that is 40 years will be declaring 22 years because he wants to
football.
Before you know, the Rashidi Yekines, the Agahuas, before you know, the strength will finish. So you can't cheat nature. What we're saying is that now, when they came with all of these e-passports, I'm trying to synthesize the system and sanitize why people can be more frank with their age. We still have hiccups of people breaking into the system, changing ages or changing names or changing place of birth. And recently I had an experience of somebody who said he had she had had 3 passports on the e-system. And every time she applies for a visa, they refuse because it's computerized. They say, no, why is your last name not the same with this one? You know, most of these people are ignorant. And now, she said when she went back to the passport office, somebody told her to bring this much so that they can wipe the system. I'm talking about digitalization.
No, Mark, react to that.
Okay, now.
So that they can clean the system.
So the first thing we should look at is honesty, yeah? Honesty of purpose and implementation of targets.
Yes.
So the ministry, as I said earlier, is supposed to be a transition. It's supposed to be that something has been done to make them come up with this timeline of 6 months.
Yeah.
Because you cannot come up with 6 months if you have not done something. So
yes.
I want to expect that they have done all the normal preliminaries. No, research are always there. Research has been there. The normal preliminaries to ensure that
it works.
It can sit into
in 6 months.
But yes, my fear is the same thing, the Nigerian factor. The Nigerian factor is my fear because when you are putting policy, you must look at the people you are
They are going to work it out.
That's how those people work. So the Nigerian factor is where I am looking at they implementing it at that point. And yes, in my mind, I've already assumed, I've already concluded that they will extend this.
Why do you think so?
The timeline.
Yes, they will, because if you are giving yourself deadline, giving your people deadline, you must have even showed the people what you have done already.
Yeah.
They told us this is a deadline, but I've gone through to look for. They have not told us how far they have gone.
All right.
But only the fact that okay, some MDAs are already paperless. So if your MDAs are already paperless, you have not told us that okay, we are going to utilize the same technology that has been used for these MDAs to simulate the process across board. So it seems as though they are starting something new. They are starting, you know, this so many people want to impress the government of the day, so they tend to
Come up with grandiose.
some grandiose plan.
Mark, let's come to another side of the story. Let's look at intranet or internet that will power this system. They will use
Intranet.
Okay, intranet.
Intranet, yeah.
Now let's look at the intranet now. You know, obviously they need to get a whole. Kade talked about the issue of cybersecurity, which I think you must address squarely. We've seen issues where even as secured as most of our commercial banks are, their security has been breached by hackers, as the case may be. Data. We were told one time that the NIN database was also hacked, and the information of a whole lot of Nigerians were actually tampered with. That's on one hand. Let's look at the issue of the provision of the infrastructure that will drive this innovation. The intranet, is there any, to your understanding, you think the government made provision in the 2025 budgets to ensure that they purchase these equipment that will run this innovation on one hand, to the provision of also the softwares, the intranet, so that we will not have hiccups when we tend to begin to apply or put this in place. So respond. Let's look at the issue of cybersecurity. How secure will these things be on one hand? Then number two, provision of the infrastructure that will drive this process.
Thank you, Uncommon. Legal and security issues come up every day. Even in the advanced world, hackers exist. In fact, the hackers, they are from the advanced world.
Okay.
But you know, ensuring that our legal system works will one way reduce the attempt of people to bypass the system. What am I saying now? You talk about the NIN hacking, right? That hacking was done. When you are trying to trace hackers, there are always footprints.
Exactly.
Trace. Have we gotten any arrests? Have we gotten has any adjudication been done and someone is sentenced that this person was the one that facilitated that? It's all political views. That's the problem we should be looking at. First, we must make our legal system strong. Now, multiple identity, as my dear sir said, multiple identity for someone having 3 passports, because our means of identification are multiple. You can choose.
But you should carry the same name, same information, no matter how.
Name is generic. Name is generic. When it comes to system structure, there must be keys that must separate every entity in a structure. So now, NIN is supposed to be that key. They decided to bring BVN again. Bringing something that's okay. This one is tied to the.
Somebody will say two-step verification. That should be two-step verification.
So just like we have in our advanced country, they have their social security number. Our NIN should be our social security number. So that should be the primary key of differentiation. So when you want to go for your passport, just type in your NIN. Then you will see everything there. You cannot duplicate that person information because you have an NIN. Unless you go for a plastic surgery and create an identity for yourself. Then you can now say he has another identity. But then the face is different. So I cannot say that's the same person.
Exactly.
You understand? So you must have that distinct key that will separate every entity in the database. So with that, you eliminate that. And when somebody tries to bypass it, the cyber security expert will tell you there are always signals. That someone is trying to bypass. So when such a signal comes, don't put familiarity and family and political affiliation into it. Take action. When action is taken for 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm telling you, my brother, we Africans, we Nigerians, when we see, say, let me go to broken now. When we see, say, they collect for evil thing, we go wrong.
All right. Let's from what he said, talking about the cybersecurity now. Let's look at the technical know-how in making this process work. You know, the Nigerian today we have in the civil service, we have aged people in the civil service, whether you like it or not. The younger ones are just in the school, in the university, and in the NYSC scheme. Now, but when you talk about civil service, you have people that are 65, 50, 55. Now, and these people, they are not, so to say, fully trained to work in a digital, in a digital environment. How do you think, because from what you said, how do you think this can work?
No, you know, see, when you are creating an application, first you must look at how seamless the application can interact with the users. You understand? So the user friendliness of the application will determine how people can interact. The elderly are there. My mom doesn't have a BSc, but she can operate her phone. So if the application is user friendly, those people in the civil service, they can read. They can write. So the application should be designed in a way that it will not be too ambiguous. Very clear and straightforward way of it. Click and you see. So when you click, you know what you see. So program managers or those who are designing those applications will look at that fact. And yes, literacy level, in terms of digital literacy level in the civil service. Earlier I said about knowledge gap. So it will bring an opportunity for the civil service to rearrange their training needs. Their training needs should be more current, more tech savvy. You know, not those regular ones where they'll just go sit down for one. I'm going back to broken now. Where they'll go sit down for somewhere, they'll give them food, give them this, they'll just chop, they'll collect certificate, they will sign, they will come out. It should be tech inclusive. Every training need for this time onward should be related to technology. COVID came, were we not forced to online
to adjust?
Nigerians can adjust. Human beings can adjust, but create the opportunity for them to
the
adjust.
enabling environment.
So don't just feel that they can read. As far as they can read, they can interact with the system.
Fantastic.
So just give them a little training and they will do it. Yes, the young are not too much there. That's where employment are there. Those who are old who cannot interact, they can resign. But you know, because when people resign, issue of gratuity and it's a problem. So they don't want to sit down on the system because they are not too sure. They are not too sure of the life after resignation or retirement. So if the country is working, People can resign and say, you know what, my age, I'm above 50, I need to rest now and play with my grandchildren. They can resign because they know that something is available for them. And when we go to business discussion, we're talking about multiple stream of income that people can now engage in. You know, when people have streams of income, that fear will not be there, especially those who are aged. Yes, will not be there. So environment.
All right, now let's look at the financial parts of these MDAs. I think it's something that we should also look at. Key. Now, it's something very key. Now, let's look at the issue of, like your last sentence, you talked about the issue of gratuities, the issue of this payment, this computation. It's very cumbersome, especially when you have to move files from one table to another. You have to grease some palms. You have to agree on certain sharing formula. Your own gratuity, your own money. You have to say, okay, if it's come, okay, I'm giving you 10% or 5%, as the case may be. Or we have even seen people while pursuing their gratuity, while pursuing their pensions, they died, and somebody sat on that particular file, and the forged document becomes the sole collector of these funds, collected this money, pockets them, and as the case may be. Let's look at the financial MDAs now that are into this aspect. Do you think going digital will make them more transparent and more efficient? Because that becomes another aspect that they should be portraying to the public or to the civil service or civil servant to make them key into this drive.
Sure, 100%. Going digital will create transparency, accountability, and even reliability of the system. If you go digital, it means that pensioner doesn't need to be jumping from one desk to another, trying to grease palm or negotiating a percentage when it comes to get what he has worked for. It means the pensioner will just log into the system with his staff ID and will just calculate years of employment. The system will generate, you have worked, your date of start, 21st of X year, date of retirement, 21st of X year. It will generate 21 years in service. Compute gratuity or just generate gratuity. It will just compute the gratuity and everything at a glance. The person who is the retiree can know what is expecting, and the government can just use and download those files and send it to CBN or the financial service provider to credit those accounts, because each individual is already tied with his BVN and his bank. So as far as the fund has been voted for, implementation will be easy.
All right, Mark, before we let you go, you're going to look straight to a camera. You're going to look straight, because there are federal civil servants who are watching you right now, looking at how you are making it, you are painting this idea to them, making it very smooth, making it very easy. I want you to look to the camera, allay the fears of these civil servants, because if these fears are not addressed, you will begin to see resistance to change. For us to bypass this resistance, although we are not standing in for the HOS at the federal level now, I want you to speak to the camera, address our civil servants out there, how they should prepare for this transition.
All right, dear civil servant, we're in the age of awareness, and you cannot do away with digital transition. So whether you like it or not, you should know that this has come to stay. So first, I will tell you this. Digital transition will help you, it will organize the system for you and even for the government. And it is also an opportunity for you to learn something new, so that you can even interact with for those who don't have grandchildren, you can also interact with your grandchildren at a future time. Because when you understand how this thing play out, you can also interact with the Gen Zs and other generations that are coming. So you should not be scared of it, but rather take it as an opportunity for you to learn, an opportunity for you to understand, and also it be a way to make things easier for you. And hey, for you who doesn't want to bend because you feel you are doing something bad, it's an opportunity for you also to look at it in a positive light. Most people will not want to enter digital age because they think that they can never do it. You can do it as far as you can read and you can write. I know you can read and write as a civil servant, so embrace it with honesty, with accountability and transparency.
That's been the voice of Mark Agbodo. See, Mark, I think you should be one of the consultants. I think the civil service should contact you as one of their consultants or their resource person. Thank you for your time. We've been looking at the digitization of the federal civil service by December 31st, 2025. We've seen the benefits, we've seen the challenges. But here we're going to be betting and anchoring the conversation. Join us again tomorrow on Daybreak as we spotlight national issues, key issues that affect you, that affect the nation, and also how to make meaning out of them. Thank you, Kaede, for your time. Thank you, Prince, for your time as well. My name is Uncommon Emmanuel. Thank you, everyone that has ensured we have a wonderful presentation today, the PD and the cameraman. From all of us, we're saying have a wonderful day ahead. God bless Nigeria. Bye for now.